Hey everybody, my name is Zee Garcia. Welcome back to Board Game Blender. Today we are talking about light and shadow, and we are going to be talking about games that allow you to play one of those two sides. Games that are asymmetrical, games where you are fighting someone or perhaps just fighting the game itself, and you are going to be playing one of those two sides. I know it's one of my favorite things in games to have a game in which you get to play the bad guys sometimes. I love doing that in role-playing video games. And or you can play the other side, or just have a game in which you are combating some evil, some darkness. And of course, every now and then you have the interesting game that kind of flips that on its head, and you yourselves are the bad guys, the players, fighting the land, spreading your evil, that sort of thing. So it's a genre, it's a style that very much captivates me, and it's one that I find smart designers are really able to mine a lot of flavor and interest out of that theme. Even if the game isn't particularly thematic, just having that as window dressing helps me anyway to engage with that game, to tell myself an interesting story. So we're going to be tackling that today. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I want to thank all my contributors. Speaking of the contributors, let's get to it. Here we go.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is my board gaming time capsule. Now then, no one's really sure what's going to happen in the future, but what we do know is that eventually humankind is going to come in contact with extraterrestrial life, and when that time comes, we're going to have to be ready. Now, some so-called TV and movie people have tried to lull us into a false sense of security about aliens. They tried to tell us that they're going to be funny, wisecracking and cute, and that underneath a few bits of rubber on their forehead, aliens are exactly the same as us. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Aliens shouldn't be embraced, they should be feared. And don't be fooled into thinking aliens are going to be humanoid either. They could just as easily be big, amorphous blobs of matter with no features or shapes or distinguishing marks at all. Or huge clouds of flatulent hot air. But the worst kind of aliens that humans are likely to encounter are these. Xenomorphs. Just to let you know, if you're British and between the ages of about 38 and 45, that joke was hilarious. And so, we need to teach the people of the future how to handle this alien menace. And that's why we're going to be putting this game, Legendary Alien Encounters, into our board gaming time capsule. Legendary Encounters, an alien deck building game, is a cooperative game for 1 to 5 players. In it you get to play through 4 of the Alien movies. Alien, Aliens, Aliens 3, and that 4th one that I've never seen, because I'm still upset about Newton Hicks dying at the beginning of Aliens 3. Sorry, spoilers. The game does an absolutely fantastic job of portraying the feel, narrative and tension of the source material, and it's arguably the most thematic card game I've ever played. The publishers very wisely stayed away from using actual film stills from the movie, and instead used some really nice graphic novel style art, which is both high in quality and consistent throughout the game. Unlike the Marvel Legendary game, which uses the same system, the Alien deck building game doesn't mess around with all that semi-cooperative nonsense, and all the players are very much on the same team. There are some traitor variants available in the box if you want to use them, but I'm personally not a fan of shouty pointy games, so I prefer to leave them out. Like all good co-ops, it can be tricky to win sometimes. However, you never really mind when things go wrong, as not only does it add to the dramatic tension of the game, but it also gives you an excuse to say,
"That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over."
In fact, I consider any game where each player hasn't got to say,
"Game over, man. It's game over,"
at least twice, an abject failure. You could almost say it was,
"Game over, man. It's game over."
This game is notorious for taking ages to sort out the cards and put them all back in the box. And therefore, it's a very good job that I'm actually using this time capsule to help the people of the future, and I'm going to be burying it in the garden as soon as I've dumped all the components inside. Because if I was using this time capsule as some kind of weak narcissistic concept in order to scrabble my way on the dice tower and get 1 or 2 positive comments from a few internet strangers in order to reinforce my very, very fragile ego, then, well, basically I'd be spending the rest of this afternoon sorting out cards and putting them back in the box. And that's all I'd be doing for the rest of the day. So it's a good job that I really am using this time capsule for the purposes that I'm stating. So, all that's left to do is to put legendary alien encounters into our board gaming time capsule.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Hey guys, it's Nerdy, and we're back for another edition of Board Game Blender, and who am I? Well, today we are really talking about good versus evil, black versus white, the dark side versus the light side. And because I think dark side versus the light side is epitomized in the Star Wars realm, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Risk. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. If you don't know anything about this game, you're thinking Star Wars Risk, that's just a Risk game with, Star Wars pasted on. It's not. It's way better than that. So I'm going to talk about that now. Here we go. Where am I? Well, where I am is in the Star Wars universe in the Return of the Jedi film. We're taking part in the destroying of the newly refurbished Death Star, the Battle of Endor, and also the lightsaber fight between Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, and also the Emperor, to name a few. So we are really in Return of the Jedi, and we're playing a 3-tiered Risk game with dice, but really what it is, it's really the classic game, Queen's Gambit, but shrunk down and made more palatable for today's generation. Okay, who am I? Well, who I am is depending on if I'm the good or a bad side, of course. If I'm on the Imperial side, I am playing as Darth Vader fighting against Luke in the lightsaber battle. I'm also playing as the Super Star Destroyer and the TIE Fighters fighting off the X-Wing, Y-Wings, B-Wings, and the Millennium Falcon, trying to defend the Death Star. I'm also the Death Star gunners shooting the Death Star laser at the different ships on the board. I'm also the stormtroopers trying to protect the shield generator from Han Solo and company. From the good guys, of course, on the opposite side of all of those groupings, but I'm doing all of these things at once. But really what who I am is the generals for each of those. I'm overseeing all 3 of those combats at once for the light side or the dark side. So how am I? Well, I think it is a perfect showing of the Star Wars Return of the Jedi film. There's not really any Ewoks in it, but that's okay. Weren't my favorite part anyway. But it has each of the different areas of the fight happening. It has tension. It has risk mitigation. You're trying to say, well, if they go for the lightsaber fight, then I'll just let that happen and I'll protect the other side, or whatever the case may be. It's a fantastic game. It's not Risk. It is the Queen's Gambit, which is a classic game everyone should own but probably can't. But Star Wars Risk, you certainly can own. So I give this a million times yes. This is a perfect who am I. I am the Imperial side, or I am the Rebels. I'm one or the other, and I'm feeling exactly like that as I play it. So really, right now, I'm telling you, pick it up, even if you don't believe that it's not just Risk. It's not just Risk. It's way more than that. But please pick it up. It's a fantastic game. You're not going to regret it. Thanks, everyone.
Hello everyone! Games where I can be a real-life hero instead of being my clumsy self always resonate with me, especially when I can face the horrors I have to deal with every day in the hospital but can't do anything about because I'm a lousy med student. I think we're dealing with a severe case of Cystosoma Mansoni infection here.
Nice try. Now let the real doctors talk.
So how can Pandemic not be one of my favorite games? I can be a medic and rid the world of the most evilest thing there is, diseases. I mean, not to talk down on Darth Vader or anything, but can he evolve and suddenly become airborne? Can he be living inside you without you even noticing, slowly eating you from the inside? I did not think so. As soon as we think we have outsmarted those pesky bacteria, viruses, fungi, or worst of all, parasites, they have found new ways to invade us and cause massive outbreaks. But is there something we can learn from pandemic when battling diseases in real life? Number 1. Always have a dispatcher in your team. Ebola in Africa? The medic is here. Measles outbreak in America? Drop that scientist in to explain the importance of vaccinations. You will never be somewhere not on time again. Number 2. Don't take risks by thinking you have enough time to ignore a city on the verge of an outbreak. Before you know it, the whole of Europe is sick, and you can say goodbye to your carefully planned Essen trip. Number 3. Everyone's opinion is important, even if you're not the medic like me. Doctors don't know everything, and they cannot cure anything. Except maybe McDreamy and Dr. House. But even they had to cooperate sometimes. And lastly, and probably most importantly if you want to save your life, if in the end you could not save the world and everyone is suffering from flesh-eating wounds except you, there is one very valuable lesson we all learned by playing Plague Incorporated. Go to Madagascar. Diseases never get to Madagascar, even if they are airborne toxic monsters.
I rode here on my horse, I mean coconut, that I found after it was probably dropped by an African swallow, because there's a lot of stuff to take care of. The Picts and the Saxons will attack soon, Lancelot has vanished, and I'll have to recover Excalibur and fight the Black Kniget. All while I'm on a quest to seek the Holy Grail. Luckily, I'm not alone. My fellow Knights of the Round Table will help me for sure. I can trust on that. Or, can I? Hello everybody, my name is Robert and I am the Co-op Gamer. And today I want to talk to you about Shadows over Camelot. This is a semi-cooperative game for 3 to 7 players, and in this game there's a chance one of you will be a traitor. I chose this game because there's a clear contrast between good and evil actions. Every player's turn consists of 2 phases. First, the progression of evil, and after that, the heroic action phase. The evil actions you can choose from are draw a black card and resolve it, add a siege engine, or lose a life point. The heroic actions are move to a new quest, perform the related quest action, play a special white card, heal yourself by discarding 3 identical white cards, or accuse another player of being the traitor. For each quest you complete, you'll add swords to the round table. White swords when you succeed, or black swords when you fail. The game can be lost in a number of different ways. When the 12th siege engine is placed, when 7 or more black swords are placed, or when all loyal knights are dead. You'll win the game if at least 12 swords are placed on the round table, and the majority of them is white. I know a lot of people really like this game, and the fact that every player has to perform both evil and heroic actions is very nice. I also like the high player count and the fact that you can join in or drop out during the game. However, this game just doesn't work for my gaming group, and there's a number of reasons why. First of all, the game is very slow. You can only perform 1 heroic action on your turn. So sometimes the only thing you do is moving. Or worse, you place a siege engine to progress evil and then destroy that same siege engine as your heroic action. So it feels as if you haven't done anything at all. Apart from that, most locations play very similar. Most of the time, your heroic action will just be placing a white card. And lastly, the traitor hasn't got that many options. And if someone goes to the location to recover Excalibur, there's a big chance that they are the traitor. Of course, that can also be the case because I haven't played the game enough to find the right tactics. But to be honest, I don't feel the need to play the game anymore. So if you're someone who really loves the game, please let me know in the comments why I should give it another chance. That's it for me. My name is Robert, I'm the Co-op Gamer, and I hope to see you next time.
For today's Quirky Game, I'm taking a look at a game that's a little bit older, one that did not get as much attention as the other games in its line. I'm talking here about Dracula in the two-player Cosmos line, a line that's been very popular. Some great games have come out of it, like Lost Cities, like Babel, like Jambo, all fantastic games. And Dracula here is very good as well, just a little bit stranger. It's a little bit quirkier than that. And I think that led to it not being quite as popular. You see, the game combines a few different things that you would not expect in this kind of game. The theme is dark, of course. It's Dracula. Not that it's gory or anything, or even particularly thematic. But you do have Van Helsing on one side. You have Dracula on the other. But the game combines card play, combines discovery, and then combines memory. Memory is an aspect of this game, which at first, when I first heard about it, scared me off a little bit. I tend to not like memory games. I have a very bad memory, and so any game that emphasizes that it tends to throw me for a loop. I tend to worry about being able to engage with that game. This one utilizes it in a really interesting way, and forgetting something isn't particularly devastating. It sort of feeds the vibe and feel in the game. The board is quite simply a grid of spaces, and both players are going to populate that grid with their own cards. One of the two types of cards. Smaller cards go face down in these spaces, and they are going to have combatants for the Van Helsing player, and then the brides of Dracula, as well as the coffins that Van Helsing is looking for, attempting to discover to keep Dracula from fleeing. And you are going to be moving around the board, playing action cards to move, playing action cards for special abilities. Those action cards are also going to allow you to move or place barriers on the board to limit movement, and discovering those cards, fighting them if the need be, or claiming them if that's if you find a coffin. You are finding the things. Once you find one, if it's your own, you can pull it back into your hand and replace it. You can place the same card again. You'll forget which ones you yourself have placed sometimes. So you're not quite sure if you're about to run into a card that's still yours. At least for me, this is the case. Or if you're about to discover one of Dracula's more powerful brides, if you're about to find a coffin, that sort of thing. And so you're attempting to neutralize those cards, find what you need. The game feels in many ways like an abstract movement game. Hence the barriers limiting movement, forcing players to go down certain corridors, that sort of thing. But then you add the theme, the Dracula theme on top of that. And then you add the cards, which are very interesting because they have a nice balance between power, stakes, represented by little stakes on the card, and a number, which is how far you can move, and a special ability, oftentimes. And so these cards, you have a hand of them. You have to be careful when you play which. Sometimes you want to be able to traverse the board a considerable amount, but you know if you run into something that's powerful, you're going to be in trouble because that card does not have very many stakes on it. And you have a life limit. There's cubes in the box that represent your life, so you might take hits. Sometimes you want your big guns out front, which means you won't be moving very much, or you might have a very bad power on that card, or no power at all. And so the hand management is very interesting. The memory aspect, which normally, again, would turn me off, I think becomes an asset at that point because of the mysterious nature of the game. And playing both sides can lead to interesting strategies. You know, it does feel unique to be the one on the hunt versus Dracula attempting to, you know, leave landmines for the Van Helsing player to walk into. So it's a very clever game. It's an interesting game. One that, again, did not get a lot of attention. I believe it's possibly difficult to find now. I'm not sure. But it's too bad because it's a clever game. One of the more clever games in the Cosmos 2-player line. That's not to say it's one of the better games. It's one of the more interesting, unique games because of the combination of aspects that it brings to the board. This one is from one of my favorite Euro game style designers, Michael Reynek, and I really enjoy what he did here for a 2-player game. It's one that I would love to see revamped, perhaps, no pun intended, one that I would love to see more widely available, and one that I would like to see more people play. Because while it is quirky, I think this one could appeal to a lot of folks that enjoy the theme, enjoy this tactical cat and mouse type gameplay. Very cool. Look into it if you get a chance. If you have it on your shelf and haven't brought it out in a while, give it another spin. I think you're going to be surprised with how well this one holds up. So, for our quirky game of the episode, Dracula, the 2-player game from designer Michael Reynek and publisher Cosmos.
Dark versus light. Dark versus light. Well, what about Star Wars? Dark and light. Nah, people would be expecting that. How about Lord of the Rings? Dark and light. Nah, I don't like that either. Hey, how about the Dice Towers Dan Hughes and Matthew Jude? Or is it dark and light? Wait a minute, they don't even have a board game. Hey, wait a minute, I got it.
A Cuban immigrant by the name of Antonio Prohias created 2 characters, simply known as Black Spy and White Spy. They first debuted in Mad Magazine number 60 in 1961. Thus, Spy vs. Spy was born. Here I have Spy vs. Spy, the board game, published in 1986 by Milton Bradley. This is a 2 to 4 player game in which you're laying down tiles, creating tunnels, and bringing back as many bombs as you can. Let me set this up and show you how it works. So this is what the game board would look like set up. First, you're going to set out these 13 bombs on the bomb spaces at random. Next, you're going to pick a color pawn and its matching platform, and the platform is just used to hold your tiles during the game. Next, everybody's going to get a T-shaped tile, and they can either put it there at the starting space or at that starting space. Next, you're going to draw 4 tiles off of the stack, and that is your starting hand. And you can go ahead and put those on your platform. Now you're ready to start to play. So the first thing you do on every turn is move your pawn. Now you can move your pawn through tiles as many spaces as you want. So for example, if you had tiles going like this, you can move all the way to here if you wanted to. It doesn't matter if you cross over other pawns or other bombs, you can still go through them. You have to stop where there is no tile. If you decide to stop on a bomb, you have to go ahead and roll the bomb dice. Now the bomb dice has 5 safe spaces and 1 explosion. If you get a safe roll, that means you are allowed to stay in that square. If you roll a explosion, you have to go all the way back to your home base. Now on your next turn, if you started your turn on the bomb, you have to go ahead and roll the dice again. On a safe, you can go ahead and take the bomb all the way home. And on an explosion, again, you have to go back to your home base. So basically, it takes 2 turns for you to take your bomb home. Then you're going to draw a tile and then play a tile. You should always have 4 tiles on your platform. So you just lay a tile anywhere on the board that you want. Now the different tiles are angle, T, a straight line, dead end, and intersections. Now there is a way to block the path for your opponents by these special spy tiles. There's white spies, black spies, and gray spies. So if you want to block a path of your opponent, say for example here it has a picture of a black spy, you have to play a white spy to block that. Nobody can move in that square at all.
Now, the gray spy, you can put it on a black or a white spy. It's like a wild card. And that blocks the path for your opponents or even for yourself also. If you successfully get the bomb and take it all the way back to your home base, you can go ahead and read what it says on the bottom. And it says things like this one, for example, says a free turn. There's other ones that say draw and play. Just follow whatever instructions are on the bottom of the bomb. Now, in order to win the game, in a 2-player game, you're going to need 7 bombs to your home base. In a 3-player game, you're going to need 5 bombs. And in a 4-player game, you're going to need 4 bombs. That's all there is. I really like the way that this game is designed. It has a little bit of strategy with the way that you lay down the tiles, and a little bit of luck with the dice roll. All combination for a great game. Now I wonder how Dan and Matthew would look like a spy versus spy. Come on guys, get out of my head. May your rolls be high.
Within the valley of the Forstron mountain range, below the town of Storm Shrine, things are very strange. The catacombs are endless and the townsfolk want to know what lurks under the city, what is crawling down below.
I'm bored. Can we please rate the town? These guys here ain't no fun. You've heard the report. You're needed here. Help out the skeletons.
We've never lost a battle. Leave or stay and quit the ever.
You've never lost, eh? Ever won? Your swords are blunt as hammers.
You take that back, or you will feel what damage I can do.
Oh, I'm trembling, but I'm sorry. Can't take back what's true.
Oh, you better keep us as your friend. You cannot kill what's dead.
You're right. Let's go out bowling later, so you can use your head.
Someone hold me back. Someone hold me back.
An elf and a barbarian are willing to go down. A chicken and a thief join in their quest to save the town. They enter in the world of ghouls, monsters, orcs, and tons. Will they survive or stay forever in those catacombs?
It's not phantom, it's phantom. I'm French.
I hear something behind these walls. Stay back and let me through.
Oh, sure, we'll let the men go first. Girls don't know what to do. What she says. Get this over with. We'll talk over a beer.
You lead the way, my friend, like walking in the park.
I'll collect the coins. Trust me, we'll split it later on.
Brave heroes fight their way through evil, great and small. But bigger foes are turning up. Is this the end for all? They aim, they hit, they slide, they flick, they hurt, they slice, they chop. But will the gelatinous cube bring all this to a stop?
Oh, there's chicken. Let me pass. I want to get him fried. Quickly, fools, turn me over to my hungry side.
Save the world. Go vegan.
Meet the end of your road. Have you met my axe?
He's going in berserker mode.
Someone stole my wallet.
Was me. You want it back?
No, it's okay.
What's this? Everyone attack! My plans, you've ruined them. Get out of my way. This round is yours, but I'll be back another day.
And so our heroes celebrate, tell stories, get some rest. Divide the loot, enjoy themselves with beer and chicken breast.
Cornbread!
They cleared some caves of ghouls and monsters, orcs and French phantoms. But there is still a lot to fear down in those catacombs.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Dean from YC TV on YouTube, Young Corpse Television, and today we are here to talk about light and shadow. Now that usually refers to good, evil. Usually when you play a board game, you fall into one of two categories, and today we are here to talk about sometimes it's not that simple, and for that reason we're going to look at the lightness to darkness personal reflection chart for Magic the Gathering. For those days when, you know what, you might feel kind of, sorta, maybe just a little bit evil. So let's go ahead and take a look and we'll break it down right now. Now, at its very core, for people who don't know, Magic the Gathering is a 1v1 collectible card game. Each player takes control of a wizard, and that wizard has 20 health points. Now, we deal damage to each other by casting spells from our library. Our library is a 60-card deck. That deck consists of varying types of spells, sorcery spells, instant spells, enchantment spells, and of course, creatures. Creatures are the main brute force of the game. We summon creatures, and that's pretty much how we deal damage to each other. Now, the personal reflection scale kind of focuses on tribal decks. Tribal decks out of that creature pool basically mean that all creature types are the same. So Sunday, spirits are high. Let's take a look at that woodland creature tribal deck. What we're going to get into is a lot of squirrels, a lot of goats, maybe some elk, throw in some birds, generally lighthearted affair, super fun, and typically Sunday, that's how I'm feeling. Now Monday, the week hasn't quite started yet, spirits are high, let's run that mono white angel deck, a lot of fun. Very strong cards. We're talking a lot of aerial assaults, you're looking at flying, you're looking at vigilance, a lot of lifelink, basically huge bombs, a lot of late gameplay, and even if you want to get a little evil, you can't play that Avacyn. Let's take that into Tuesday. The work week has brought our spirits considerably lower. Let's talk werewolves. Werewolves gets a bad rap, definitely skewing closer towards the lightness, but generally a misunderstood tribe. A lot of fun. Innistrad block brought the werewolves back in a big way, and for that I'm thankful. Wednesday, let's talk about, if you want to get a little mischievous, let's talk about the cat deck. Cats, a lot of viability in the standard with the long-tusked cub, the lions proving very tough in the modern decks as well. Amonkhet bringing a lot of cats back. You can play a tribal cat deck, and for that reason there's enough to celebrate. Let's talk merfolk. Merfolk, generally speaking, people think that they're good. I say that they are inherently evil. Anybody playing mono blue should be dealt with accordingly, and my friends, they are evil in spirits. Merfolk are that. Talk about Friday. The work week is over. We are done. We rip our flesh off, and we take Eldrazi form and storm the streets of Las Vegas. Have a good time. We're talking huge bombs, 10 out of 10s, 12 attack, 12 defense, insanity, and with the weekend in full swing, truly my favorite tribe, saving the best for last, just enough evil, the vampires. Innistrad block, like I said, brings back the werewolves and the vampires, classic horror tropes, back in a big way. Vampires, so much fun, just so much fun synergy between the cards. With Sengir Vampire, truly a classic in Magic the Gathering. There's some Vampire Nighthawk for some aerial flight, Death Touch lifelink, truly a captivating experience. Vampires, for me, is my favorite tribe to play, and that's what I play on Saturdays, so beware. We'll come back and we'll wrap it up, and we'll make sense of this right now. So in conclusion, this is why Magic the Gathering truly is one of my favorite games. Life's not always black, it's not always white. It's often everything in between, and for me, that's why Magic the Gathering shines. You really can build a deck with your own identity and just make that deck yours. Make that deck fly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. My name is Dean. This is from YC TV. I look forward to doing another blender soon, and catch you on the next episode. Yeah, we're blending. Stay blending, friends.
For today's game Under the Radar, I'm taking a look at a very recent game from Renegade Game Studios. It's a two-player only card game called The Blood of an Englishman, in which one player is going to be playing Jack, as in Jack and the Beanstalk. The other player is going to be playing the Giant, and you are attempting to manipulate cards on the table in order to achieve your winning condition, which is completely different depending on what side you're playing. The game is very straightforward and has very few components. You are going to get a deck of cards and rules. That's basically it. Now, these cards come in a couple of different types. You have numbered cards with some beanstalk artwork on there. You are going to have fee, fi, fo, fum cards with just one part of that phrase. And you are going to have some other cards which complete, these are the goal for the jack player, like gold, and you have the harp, and the final one, I believe, is a goose. That's right. There it is. And so what you are attempting to do, depending on what side you are playing, is Jack is attempting to complete three runs, 3 trips, organizing cards in front of them with the numbers going up. You can skip numbers, but they must always be going up. 6 cards, then cap that off with one of the 3 special items, say the harp. Then do it again with one of the other 2 items, and then do it a 3rd time with the leftover item. They win the game. However, the Giant is going to be attempting to stop them, and if they can ever get fee, fi, fo, fum in a single column touching or across the bottoms of different columns, then they win the game. And also, of course, they'll win if they are able to stop the Jack player from simply completing what they're attempting to do. So those are the goals, but the way you play in the game is also very different. You see, the Jack player is going to have very nimble actions that they can do. They get more actions, and they're a little more flexible. They're a little smaller but faster. The Giant gets a single action every time they go, but they are more far-reaching. They are bigger, more grandiose actions. For example, the Jack player can move a card from one column's front to another, or from the back of one column to the front of that column. The Giant does not get to do that, but they can move 4 cards from one place to another. It has to be 4. So it's a bigger action. They can get at a card that Jack would not be able to reach. They can also, the Giant, remove a card, which is how they can trip up the Jack player and simply make it impossible for them to win. And the game has a real interesting back and forth. Both sides feel different. The power curve in the game is clever because it's much easier for Jack at the beginning of the game, but the more cards they remove, the more cards the Giant removes, the easier it is for the Giant to win. The ratio of those fee, fi, fo, fum cards to other cards gets greater and greater, and so it's easier for them to get there. And so with just a handful of cards, just basically a few columns on the board, the designer here has been able to really craft an interesting and somehow thematic game where the game really is just an abstract collection of mechanisms. So it's a very clever game, this one. It's one that, surprisingly, I've not heard a lot about. I think this is one that would appeal to people that enjoy simple card games with a good amount of tactics, and that they're going to get a nice theme on top of that. Great artwork, interesting thematic mechanisms that are, again, while abstracted, if you want to buy into the theme, if you put in the time, you'll get a richer experience out of The Blood of an Englishman. And so I very much would recommend this one. Check it out if you're a fan of 2-player games, if you're looking for something different, if you enjoy the way abstract games feel, but you want a little theme in there as well, and if you enjoy asymmetrical play. It's so quick, you can play one time and then switch roles and play again. So there you have it. This is my under the radar pick for this episode, The Blood of an Englishman. See you next time.
Hello folks, welcome to Corner Chat. I'm Mark, and I have a very special guest with me today, Lukas Litzsinger. And he has developed a game you might know, just a small game, Star Wars Destiny.
Yeah, it's a small game maybe on its table print, but it's a large game in other ways.
It's huge. This game has exploded for you. I mean, it's doing phenomenal.
It's crazy.
And I mean, when can folks expect to get more?
Soon, very soon.
Okay.
So basically, Spirit of Rebellion is like shipping to distributors now, and the first wave should be in stores in a couple weeks. However, it is only the first wave of the product.
Right.
So just like we did with Awakenings, we're going to release it in multiple waves. So there is more of it than the first product, even if it doesn't feel like it because it's only wave 1.
Right.
And then the reprint for Awakenings will come out in June.
In June,
sometime.
great. That's awesome. Okay, well, you know, this episode of Blender is about the dark and the light, and I can't think of a better game than Star Wars Destiny for the dark and light, right? I mean, that had to be a really fun but challenging experience to balance the both sides, right?
That's right.
And what are some of the steps you took, or did you have any of those like eureka moments? You're like, oh, this finally fell into place.
Right, so in the game we kind of split characters into hero characters or villain characters. So you can kind of think of like the dark side and the light side.
Absolutely.
And so what that allows us to do is make more powerful cards for those sides, because we know that you can't perhaps put those cards together and do things with them that we don't want you to do with them. But I wouldn't say there was like a eureka moment, other than that we wanted the villains to feel more aggressive. And we wanted them to feel a little bit more... you might say angry or tortured in some fashion.
That's good.
With what they're doing in the game, and so they have more effects that will like damage themselves. Like there's a card that I love called Enrage. There's that great moment in The Force Awakens where Kylo gets shot with a bowcaster.
Right.
And you just saw in a previous scene, like it sent stormtroopers flying everywhere, but him, like he just takes it.
Yeah.
And then he starts pounding on it. And like, so that's in the game, so you can deal damage to yourself, gain resources, you know, kind of just use that anger as fuel for your cards.
Yeah.
And so then on the hero side of things, you know, we wanted people to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more teamwork, try to design it so that they could, you know, work together and protect each other versus just looking out for themselves.
Right. Well, that's cool. And you have some neutral stuff going on too.
We do.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
and how that came about. I mean, was that something you had out of the gate you were going to do, or it was like as it evolved?
Yeah, so basically there are two different axes in the game. There is the, you know, hero light side and neutral axis, and then there's also colors, blue, red, and yellow. And so like if you think of blue as the Force, you have these Force characters.
Right.
It's like, well, I do want light side Force users to be able to like deflect things with their lightsaber.
Right.
But I also want dark side Force users to be able to deflect things with their lightsaber.
Yeah.
And so rather than create two of the same card, it's like, let's just create one card and make it neutral. So now we have a set of cards in the middle between the light and the dark that either side can use. And so that creates really interesting kind of decks for people to build, because like, you know, certain cards you can go either direction with, and you have to figure out whether it's better to pair them with heroes or with villains.
Right. Can you tease any possible upcoming characters that people don't know about? Is it possible?
I can say that any character, you know, there are certain characters that people are like, why isn't this character in the game yet?
Yeah.
And so some of those characters are like Yoda and Darth Maul.
Right.
You know, those are
like the number ones
Star Wars. Yep, those are like the number one characters that get asked about. And so like, we're not gonna wait too long to do characters like Yoda and Darth Maul.
Good. Well, you know, I think we have one more question from a special guest potentially. Suzanne! Hey!
Hi, guys! Surprise! Well, when I heard Lukas was here, I just had to sneak in. So I popped in to ask one quick question, if that's okay.
You bet.
All right.
Let's do it.
I'm a big fan of Destiny.
Yes, you are.
And some of my favorite things to field are the droids. And I noticed there might be some rhythm to what you're thinking when you're developing a droid card and a die. So am I imagining things, or what are your thoughts on
definitely.
droids?
So like, yeah, we definitely kind of have, you might say, a droid template that we like to start with and then adjust it. And so like droids are very useful. And so we want to reflect their utility in the game. And so, you know, they're more likely to not have a blank side because they're always doing something, they're always online, they're always working. And in addition to that, you know, they're more likely to have a wide variety of symbols on them. So you kind of look at like BB-8 or R2-D2 in the second set, and they can do a lot of different things. You also have C-3PO, who's great droid in the second set. Like, he does have 2 blanks on him because he's 3PO. So, like, sometimes he's just spouting nonsense at you. But other times he's very useful. And he has an ability where you can remove his die to, like, translate one of your symbols into another symbol. And so droids we kind of want to be played as a support on the table. So they're all pretty cheap, pretty cost effective, and they all can do, you know, a wide variety of tasks depending on what you want. And then of course Chopper, maybe everybody's new favorite droid other than BB-8.
Right.
Like he's also going to be really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you're going to bring in stuff from even the animated series. You know, that's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're gonna have the artwork match pretty well with your animated stuff too. So it'll be a little more gritty perhaps than what we see.
We'll try to keep it a kind of a consistent style with what we have, but it'll have a little bit of its own look to it. I mean, you also have differences depending on what artist is drawing which character and so on and so forth. Each artist kind of has their own unique style and can add their own little flair to it.
Yeah, cool. Well, we have to give a shout out to Starfest and Game Fest for having us all out for the weekend. We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. So, folks, thanks for watching. You guys, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. It was so great.
Lucas.
No problem.
Yes.
Thanks for popping in.
All right, folks. Until next time, we'll see you at the table.
We will stop you, Darth Vader. You don't stand a chance against the dark side. Oh yeah? Turn on the light. What is happening? Oh no! The night light! No!
Hi, I'm Daniele from Playcool, and this is 2 pros and 2 cons in 2-3 minutes. The topic today is light versus shadow, light versus darkness, and so I thought this would be a good chance to talk about ghost stories from Antoine Bauza. In this game, you are 1 to 4 samurais, warriors, or something like that in Chinese maybe, not samurai, I don't know, in Asian culture, where you try to defend the village from the attack of ghosts of each kind, and these ghosts appear in different cards that are drawn in this cooperative game, and they will do all kind of messy stuff, trying to ruin your board state and messing with it, disabling it. If they disable too much of it, then you are done. If you lose too many hit points, then you are done. And there are only a few occasions when you reach that final boss, that evil guy, and you manage to defeat him, and that's when you finally win. But that happens really not that often. So let's talk about the pros of this game. First pro is strategy. In this game you can really talk with your colleagues at the table and strategize how to better defend the village, defend this tower defense game feels like, right? And you try to do your best not to rely too much on the roll of the dice. There are dice in the game, but if you do it too much, then you are done. You try instead to collect resources from the board and from your special powers that each of these warriors have, and do the best you can to get back those nasty ghosts. One of the best things about this game is those wow moments that you reach when you get to roll the dice. If you do that too often, you're gonna lose, because dice aren't really helpful, but there are some times when you either win or lose and you say, I have to bet on the dice, otherwise we are done. And the colors come out just the ones that you need to get rid of that red ghost, and you get that red die, and you are free to go for one more round and you're happy. Let's talk about the cons though. This is a really stressful game. That's the first con. I'm not always in the mood to play that. I think maybe just Escape has that stressful feel where you have to roll the die constantly and the time is ticking. Here there is no real-time element, but the stress is there because of the first round, it's your turn and there are already 2 ghosts hunting the tile almost, and you are way behind in the first round. There is never that feeling like we got this under control. That sometimes, for example, happens in a pandemic or I don't know. So that's a stressful game right there. And the second point that if I have to find a second con, it's in the base game. I know there are expansions for that, but maybe because I know there are, I just wish they had put maybe just a couple more tiles for this wonderful modular board of the game, just to have had some variety. Instead you have those 9 tiles and you can mix them, but you get the same board every time. So if I may add the second small con, maybe a couple of more of these tiles would have been nice in the game, in the first base game. But there are expansions for that, and I hear they're good, so maybe I get one of those. Thank you. That was all. This was 2 pros and 2 cons in 2 minutes. Talk to you next time. Ciao.
And that's going to do it for us, everybody. Once again, a big thank you for tuning in. Big thanks to my contributors for being a part of the Board Game Blender family. And we hope to see you again in a couple of weeks for our follow-up Blender episode. And as I always say, hey, stay a friend of the blend. I'll see you next time.